It's that time of year where we discuss the Game Awards, and man, the Game Awards this year did not disappoint by any means, man. This was a great presentation. We got a lot of cool stuff being revealed all throughout the stream, and of course, at the end, Astrobot was revealed to be Game of the Year winner in 2024, and a lot of people online are up in arms about this. And Astrobot winning Game of the Year is going to be the topic of discussion today, so let's go ahead and get into it. Now, let me just go ahead and say this and preface this before we get into it. All of these games that were nominated for Game of the Year in 2024 are phenomenal video games. Every single game up for nomination for Game of the Year was like low-key near perfect in my opinion. I wouldn't have been mad with any of these games winning Game of the Year, okay? Like, I have been enjoying all of these games throughout 2024, but I have been saying this since Astrobot came out, man. Astrobot has been my Game of the Year since day one of its release. And for me, it's just because Astrobot does a lot of things that a lot of games in the video game industry just don't really do anymore. You know, a lot of developers aren't really making games like this other than Nintendo. And I'm somebody who has a lot of nostalgia for old school PlayStation games, you know, Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, games like that, Sly Cooper. I love these games. And Astrobot was just a great experience that I would, fit in with those games, I think it's just a great platforming experience that's a lot of fun, and that's not something that we see from PlayStation anymore, Over the years, it feels like PlayStation and just the, video game industry as a whole has been leaning towards online live service games or over-the-shoulder movie games. And, those can be good. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love God of War 2018, Red Dead Redemption 2, whatever you would call a movie game. I like all those games, man. Last of Us, like, they're great. They're really good. But I really just miss these smaller, more fun projects that have a lot of charm, Open world, massive scale games are great. They have their place for sure. But I want the industry to start, focusing on these smaller projects like Astrobot, something that just oozes creativity and charm, and something that's just a lot of fun for a few hours, And I say quote unquote a few hours, but the truth is Astrobot has a good chunk of content, man. It's about 15 hours for a playthrough if you're taking your time and you're having fun with it, and then it's about like 20 hours-ish for like a platinum run, right? That's about what I logged in the game, at least, from person to person it could be different, but that's a good estimate right there, I would say. And, a lot of people will scoff at that 15 hours of content. It was criticized for that at launch. A lot of people said that this game didn't have any content and 15 hours wasn't enough to justify a full price game, which I just disagree with that sentiment so much, especially in this day and age, man, because 15 hours, man, that 15 hours that I, played Astrobot for my original playthrough was some of the most, quality hours I have ever spent with a video game, man. It was just 15 hours of pure fun. Astrobot was the most satisfying game I've ever played. Like, I felt satiated when I finished that game. Not to mention the fact too that this game literally just begs to be platinumed, dude. This is such an enjoyable platinum. The 100% run for this is so much fun, collecting all the characters and stuff. It's a blast. It really is. But yeah, man, a lot of people look at the length of content and see that it's like a 3D platforming game and just assume that it doesn't have, replayability or anything, which I think the way people measure replayability nowadays is a little bit skewed in my opinion. Like, for me personally, Astrobot has a ton of replayability, man. Even though I have the platinum for this is a game I'm probably going to 100% run at least like once a year just because it's so fun. Not to mention, you can speed run this. There's a lot of different things you can do, and they're adding new levels to it, as time goes on. There's a new Christmas level that just dropped. It's great. And the one thing for me with replayability is just fun. And Astrobot is just fun, so it's replayable to me. But yeah, man, like, overall, this game was just a treat, and it really just reminded me, like, what video games are. They're stress relievers that are just fun to play and chill out on, man. That's why I love Astrobot. And, like I said at the start of the video, every single title that was nominated for Game of the Year was 100% deserved. But I don't know, man. I've just been rooting for, Astrobot since it came out. It's been kind of an underdog to me, to be completely honest, just because it's kind of a big deal that a 3D platforming game one game of the year like this. I mean, it really is. And I'm glad that this game is getting a lot of love because it can shift those industry standards. And I'm also not saying that we need to get rid of these, massive scale projects in the gaming industry, because the reality is that we just need a balance of both, right? A lot of game developers need to focus on making smaller things while they're, working on their big heavy hitter. A lot of companies nowadays just try to rush out these massive projects, and that's why we see a lot of developers lose a lot of money, which eventually just leads to layoffs. And layoffs in the video game industry was a pretty big topic of discussion during the Game Awards. The industry has suffered a lot. And I think a big part of that is just these, irresponsible spending habits that some developers have on projects. For example, Concord cost like 200 million, same with Star Wars Outlaws. I think there's a lot of gaming companies out there that kind of need to scale back a little bit and just focus on, these smaller games that are just, focusing on fun. Make a 3D platformer. Make a linear story game. Your game doesn't have to be a movie project that is this epic scale to win something like Game of the Year, At the end of the day, it just has to be a great video game. And Astrobot proved that this Game Awards, and I think it deserves the Game of the Year. But like I said at the start of the video, I don't blame anyone for thinking otherwise. Like, all of these nominees were absolutely incredible. So no matter what your pick was, I can agree with it and get behind it. I can see reasonings for all of them. But I want to know down in the comments what you guys picked for Game of the Year and what you guys thought of the overall presentation of the Game Awards this year. I thought it was really, really good. A lot of the reveals got me super, super hyped for what's to come in 2025. And 2025 is shaping up to be low-key one of the best years in gaming in a long time, so I'm super excited. But yeah, man, go ahead and comment your Game of the Year pick and let's have a conversation about this. I love talking about stuff like this. And yeah, if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure to drop a like and a subscribe. It really helps me out, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.